Few things stir the British urge to go and eat more than time for cheese. Well, time for tea, shall we say. But cheese, in probably the most strangest thing of all, is going to become an interesting battleground because the cheesemakers of the UK, just like any industry, are going to be facing incredibly hard times. Much like, as I've said, we probably haven't heard anything much from the farmers yet. Probably that's going to be happening later in the year, and trust me, those stories are going to come thick and fast. And trust me, the Tories are going to get it in the ass then, because most of their areas that are in control of them, they are really in control, are heavily agricultural areas. And trust me, as we've seen multiple times, this might force the Tories to move on something, but not everything. Again, we'll have to see what happens. Again, way down the road in the future, who knows? We'll get to it when we get to it. But needless to say, there's a telephone here. Don't worry, we're ready to answer it when the call comes. So, today we're going to be talking, as maybe we may guess, about cheese. So, go grab your cheese platters, go grab your gorgonzolas, your Cheshire cheese, your whatever cheese you fancy. Time to talk about how the Brexit is affecting cheese, and it's not going to be good, just like many of the other industries are currently saying. However, it hasn't had as much attention. So, please remember to hit that like and share button before we jump into it. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And so, on with the article. So, this comes from the North East Bylines. The title is Don't Say Cheese. Fromage is a word that is going to be used many more times than anticipated by the commercial cheesemaker from Cheshire, who was recently featured in The Guardian. The cheese manufacturer Simon Spurrell is being forced to move a $1 million investment to create jobs in Cheshire from his hometown to France. It's so ironic that the tariff-free trade deal that we got on Christmas Eve has turned mouldy in just a few short days. But this manufacturer is just one of tens of thousands of businesses right across the country who have been adversely impacted by Brexit. The much promised benefits have unravelled to become a nightmare for British industry in every corner of the United Kingdom. The Guardian quoted Mr. Spurrell as saying, "Our business had high hopes for continued growth in the EU market. After seeing the avoidance of the no deal and the announcement of a free trade deal, what has only become clear in January is that our successful B2C, that's business to consumer, online sales to the EU customers are now completely impossible to operate. So to save his business, he will now have to switch a $1 million investment he was planning to make in a new distribution centre in Macclesfield to the EU, with a loss of 20 jobs and tax revenue to the UK. Mr. Spurrell has further been quoted in The Guardian, "It is a real shame because that means I'm now going to have to invest in France, provide French employment and then contribute to EU tax system, which was pretty much going against the whole reason that we were meant to be leaving." But Mr. Spurrell's firm is just one example of dozens which have been featured in newspapers and on TV over recent weeks. The Northern Ireland-based eel fishermen reported that they could not sell their eels into London fishery markets, Billingsgate, which also seems so perverse as it's part of the UK. But if exporting from Northern Ireland to the UK has proved difficult, the difficulty of importing goods from the UK to Northern Ireland has resulted in huge shortages in supermarket shelves. Yet another business has also featured recently was John Abbott's Textiles from Devon. The owner reported that his knitting wool, spun from local sheep fibres, would no longer be accepted, with hauliers now trying to mitigate the risk of one package in their van or lorry, causing an entire load to be delayed because they are missing a health certificate. But the best example came from the wife of former Prime Minister David Cameron, who of course started the original referendum process. Speaking on the BBC, Samantha Cameron and her business was being held back by frustrating Brexit issues. See, you remember when I said about the whole idea of, you know, the parliamentary party may be run by, the free market fundamentalist at the moment, but the other side, the Conservative Party, there are moderates, and people like Samantha Cameron are going to be very upset at those free market fundamentalists, not only just in her party, but in the parliamentary party as well. And thus, the huge push for us to rejoin the European Union starts. And trust me, this will go from a push to a shove to just an outright, outright crash and a complete scrum to push to get back into the EU. And surprisingly, we will see lots of Conservatives who once championed leaving the EU maybe even switch sides, which will be incredibly funny to see. So, where do these initial teething problems or issues at the end of January 21 leave us, just 1 month from the UK's departure from the EU? First, let's see what the dictionary says about the two famous words bandied about like confetti by ministers. Teething problems. Difficulties or problems that arise during the initial stages of a project or enterprise. So there must be something wrong with the dictionary definition, as problems are only just starting for British industry, and the initial phase has now only passed. In the Guardian article from the 20th of January, the director of the British Freight Company, with long experience, reported that EU hauliers and transport companies are reluctant to take on British businesses because of the requirement to provide thousands of pounds in guarantees to cover VAT or possible tariffs on the arrival in the UK. Before the UK left the European Union, there was no requirement for financial guarantees, but now the EU transport companies who provide shipping services for small and medium firms prior to Brexit are unwilling to shoulder the extra financial burden. The Guardian quotes Colin Jeffers of Key Cargo International in Manchester. We've got a lot of people trying to bring textiles in from Italy, and we are being told that there is no haulage available for that. Nobody is willing to touch anything because of these guarantees. In Poland, we're trying to get masks for PPE in the workplace, but we can't get anyone to bring them over. So, there's quite a collection of teething problems. And I have not even mentioned the Scottish fishing industry. As industries plead with ministers for help in resolving these teething problems and issues, it's very clear they will actually become permanent, as the rules are not going to change one iota. I feel new words coming on to describe the carnage and hauliers that UK businesses will be facing this year, and they're not pretty words. It's going to be one hell of an annus horribilis, and those much promised sunny uplands were just empty promises. There are no sunny uplands for anybody unless you are an expert in customs clearance and own warehouse space in the Netherlands, which has suddenly become a necessity for so many UK companies. This demand has been fueled by official government advice, which is to have a base in the EU and avoid having to comply with all the new rules. Now, who has the Dutch courage to tell Johnson the new advice that is being handed out to British companies by his own Department for Business? Yeah, trust me, these problems are going to spiral, and they are going to become more and more problems, because there's only so long people like Michael Gove can turn around and say, don't worry, these are only teething problems. It's not that, it's only going to get slowly but surely worse. And these companies are going to get louder and louder and louder. And as we said there, as this slowly starts to affect, conservative business owners, people like Samantha Cameron, and I'm pretty sure there will be other people who will be like, what on earth are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is negatively affecting our business. And this whole idea of Boris Johnson has to level up the country is not going to look good when you've got firms from the north who are being told by the government to, okay, you need to go and set up a place in the EU to avoid all these changes. Just down the road, literally down the road, there is a company called BAP. They're called BAP, I think it's BAP for bolts. But they basically make bolts. They're a massive company. But even they are in fits about how they are going to do this, because like many companies, they have stockpiled, but that stockpile is slowly coming to an end. And now they're being told, go and make headquarters in the EU. So now, very likely, it is on their cards that where they've got major warehouses and a couple of manufactories up and down the country where they could once just send it all to ship it to the EU, it was easy. The future, potentially one of those warehouses may just be upsticked and moved to Europe. That is the future of potentially one of those warehouses. And they are a big employer, in my hometown. And I guarantee you they're not the only ones looking at this. Because we haven't even talked about data. And data is another interesting point. But like I say, we have to dedicate a full video to that. So, like I always say, thank you for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. But of course, there are links down below to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link if you would like to support the channel that way. And of course, we'll see you all next time. And thank you for those people who do support the channel in those ways. And we'll see you all next time.